Welcome to Into the Yes. I'm Marisa Fay, a functional nutritionist and holistic wellness practitioner.
And I'm Jen Nickel, a movement witch and intuitive Reiki master.
You are in the right place if you're ready to question society's wellness standards and prepared to be inspired to make changes that are right for you.
Join us as we get into the yes.
Let's go. Well, welcome back to Into the Yes. I am Marisa Fay, and I am joined by my dear friend, Jen Nickel. Jen, hello.
Hello.
Hello. So today we are talking about relationship with exercise and perhaps reassessing that relationship.
Or yeah, looking at it, seeing what it's doing for you.
Having
I
a
mean, is it bringing you flowers or is it just ghosting you?
oh my gosh, yeah. Or are you having like a silent argument and just seeing who's going to win?
Yeah.
You know, I really feel like it is a relationship.
You know what? Now that you've said that, it is. It is a relationship with this thing that you have to do or want to do or should do. It's the haves, the shoulds, the coulds, the woulds that come into it, right?
Yep. And, I feel like listeners should know like where we come at this from because I think
Yeah.
that's helpful context. I will just speak for myself saying I started consistently exercising at the age of 20. I dabbled before then. Like when I went away to college, I'd go to the rec center occasionally, my like freshman year. But truly, sophomore year, I like really went to the gym 4 or 5 days a week. And that started what has been a complicated relationship, frankly,
Mm-hmm.
because I, of course, started like a lot of, I feel like millennials did in their 20s. I was a cardio queen, right? Did
Mm-hmm.
all the cardio. And then I started to learn more and I started to incorporate weights a little bit, but it still just didn't give me that like feel good hit that cardio would give.
Right.
And it took me a long time to truly like find strength training. And then I found strength training and I started teaching group fitness. And then I just wanted more, more, more. It was like the more intense, the better of just whatever intensity. And I ultimately found myself in a CrossFit gym, going through a divorce, going to class 5 days a week, maybe 6 days a week, which is incredibly intense for anybody listening who is not super familiar with CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit really does combine strength training, cardio, HIIT, so high intensity interval training. And the community vibe is all about like pushing yourself to your limits.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for a couple of years and completely fucked up my body, like full transparency. My body was already messed up, but that really like was a cherry on top of the sundae.
Yep.
And that forced me to question, along with actually, it's coming back to me now. I also was teaching yoga and doing power yoga on top of
On
CrossFit.
top of that.
Yes. And I kept getting back injuries. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what gives? Like, I'm breathing right. I'm trying to do proper form. I'm doing all these things. Well, I was doing too much. I was
Mm-hmm.
never giving my body a moment to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only was I physically getting injured, but it really was starting to take my hormones down a hole I did not want to go.
Right.
And I did have to stop. And in stopping,
Completely.
completely, yes. And it took a while to completely stop because I loved it so much, loved the community so much, loved how I felt like inside, the high I would get from it. And
Yep.
frankly, like feeling strong. Like it was the place I would go to feel strong. And
Mm-hmm.
I had to. My body was giving me a lot of signs to stop. So I actually want to pause the story there and
Okay.
talk about what are the signs that maybe it's time to stop
Or
what you're
change
or
what you're
change.
doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
I think pain is a big one. Pain in the body is a big sign that something isn't quite right.
Yeah.
I think that's one of them. I
Yep.
think our overall energy level, like feeling like feeling depleted or feeling like you have lots of energy. Of course, there's a
Mhm.
lot of nuance to that, but
Well, and I
um,
would even say with that one, look at your sleep,
yeah,
because we've talked about this before, but just to touch on it as a recap, like if you're not sleeping, it's not a time to do intense exercise.
yeah,
It's just not. Which also, by the way, means certain phases in your life. Because I think about some of my clients who have recently had babies or have young children.
hmm,
And it's like, that is a phase of life. I mean, you know this better than I do, but that's a phase of life where your sleep is different, right?
yeah. Your sleep is affected. Um, the time that you have to eat is affected. The time that you have to, just a lot of parts of your life are affected, and it's very stressful. It's up there with one of the top number one stressors that we can go through. Is it's exciting and nice, but like it's a huge change. So,
Yeah. And
and
it's
then
like,
what do we do as women? As soon as we get that 6 week, okay, start running again, get right back to it. Got to fit back into the things because we've been told, like, and shown that.
right? Yeah.
And what
Like
does that do to our hormones?
there's really no time that I feel like as women we're told, you know what? Do rest,
I know.
right?
Right. Right now, your job is to lay there.
Right. Never.
Is there anyone listening that's like, could someone please just tell me to do that?
Yes, right? Actually, we will be the ones to tell you. If you have not rested in this week, sit down right now and rest.
It's time to do rest.
Yes, do rest. Add
Make
it
it
to
an
that to-do
activity.
list.
Yeah, it's on a
Yeah.
to-do list.
Yes.
To do rest.
Yes, absolutely.
What does that look like? I think rest means that I don't think, and unpopular opinion, especially with my teenagers, but I think that true rest, it's not restful to be scrolling.
No.
It's also not restful to be watching something.
So,
Rest is like gentle breathing and maybe gentle movement in the body of like a gentle stretch, maybe no movement and just being still.
or like putting on a podcast you really love and taking a moment to step outside and just sit and listen in the sun. Or
Mhm,
there's actually a ton of benefit if you have a pet to like sitting down with your pet and just petting them. Like
mhm.
truly that feels good for both of you. So there's certainly benefit to that as well. And something with when a lot of times I see this and I saw this in myself when I really got in I think a more negative space with exercise where I was way overdoing it.
Mhm,
I really was forgetting the part that's most important for truly building your best health from a hormone standpoint, from a muscle standpoint, from a physique standpoint, which is you have to rest.
mhm.
Like that is
You can't,
part of it.
yeah. This is what I say to all the people that come to class with me. In fact, like when we do strengthening days, I purposely put rest in between the sets that we do. And the reason why is because our body is not going to build muscle during the work portion. During when you lift the weight, that's not the building the muscle. That's actually breaking the muscle down. It's in the rest that the body goes back into repair and is like, oh, we need more there. And it builds the muscle. So it's during the rest and recovery that we build what we're looking for.
So, do you think like extending that idea, do you think then with endurance exercise, like everybody who's doing Peloton every day or running every day, do you think that in those endurance activities, then the whole time you're breaking down and disrupting your muscle fibers, right? And so that's
I
spending
think,
like
yeah.
30, 45 minutes doing just that.
Yeah, I mean, I have theories about, and without having like all of the scientific evidence behind it, I'm sure there are a lot of studies on this, but I have theories that that is strenuous on the body, that the constant high heart rate, and muscle repetitive movement in the muscles that they adapt and they learn how to continually work within that range of motion, um, but that they don't build more muscle on top of it. I
Yeah.
mean, there's if you're adding resistance and then something's happening, but it's within the same exact movement pattern over and over again. And muscles and bodies love variety. It's like what you talk about with food, like our digestive system loves a variety so it can, feed the soil.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our muscles like, and our bodies and our joints and our brains like a variety of movement.
And I would even say from a hormone perspective, right? Because I really orient to thinking about exercise from like a hormone and gut health perspective, because like
Mhm,
that's frankly for women, if we focus there and we make all of that work smoothly, everything else works smoothly. Like that's just how it goes.
mhm,
But from a hormone perspective, there really are times where we can benefit from a little bit more.
mhm.
And there really are times where we benefit from way less.
Right. I think we're not taught that. I think that the exercise industry and exercise culture is that we've been given exercise as a tool to fix ourselves. That exercise, if you want to see a change in your body, then the way to do it is through physical fitness.
Mhm.
And that is the bulk of the messaging that we receive. We get less messaging around exercise as a way to maintain the skills that your body has and maintain its ability to move through the world freely.
Mhm.
So instead, that's how we've been using it. It's almost like we kind of use it against our body in a sense, which is, one of the things I also talk about is that mindset. There's a difference between when you show up to move your body and you show up because you're going to fix your thighs or just, honestly, where does that come from? It comes from a place of hate, strong word, but it's certainly not coming from, I love my thighs, so I'm here to work them more. I'm here
Mhm.
to kind of punish them and to submission to where I want them to be. I'm using thighs as an example
Right.
because that was mine. That was mine for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, at, and there's a big difference between that than you step into your fitness routine and go, I just love myself and I love moving myself because that's what makes my body be able to continue to house me, which is
Mhm.
basically what it's doing,
Mhm.
and be well and move well and allow me to do things. Like there's such a difference between showing up from those two spaces.
Absolutely. There's a huge energetic component to it. And when I just think about like how I used to show up at the gym, where it was all about controlling my weight,
Yes.
truly, it was like roll out of bed. "Ugh, I have to go to the gym to control my weight." Like
Yep.
that's what it was. And like this morning, I woke up and did a workout, and it was like, I'm just looking forward to moving my body. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to breathing. Like truly, like roll out of bed happy, not like excited, not like energized, like happy that I get to move my body in this way.
Right. You start to come from a place of gratitude for your body. But like our signals are screwed up. Because,
Oh
like you said, I used to show up to manage my weight. That's what I did too. It was to manage my size and my weight.
yeah. Hmm.
And there's a fear that if I don't do it, then I've lost control of that. And that is also deemed as like we've now like bad. Oh, you lost control of yourself. You must be really, like these are the messages that we.
Totally. And I think you stumbled into something important here, which is like fear and love to me and other people too. It's not like I'm the genius who said this. It's the same coin, right? It's just different sides of the coin.
Mhm.
And I think that's important to know then that if there's something that you have fear about, you may be able to flip the coin over. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you may be able to change instead of coming from a place of I'm afraid what might happen to my body
Right.
to I love and care for my body and I'm going to show it in the choices that I make every day.
Right.
And also that, by the way, that's health, which I know you know. Like that's
Right.
health, right? It's the
Right.
choices you make every day. It's not the scale, it's not what size you are, it's not how much weight you can lift or how far you can run.
Right. If you can stand on your hands.
Right. Yeah, it's not that.
No. Those are fun things to be able to do.
Sure.
And that feels good. But no, health is how you show up for yourself from a loving space.
Mhm.
And so I think, we started saying like let's look at the relationship we have with exercise. Like this is a conversation to discuss like what is that relationship? Where are you coming from when you show up to exercise? And how does that affect the choice that you make about what you do when you exercise?
Well, okay, and I have a question about that for you because right, there's a mental fatigue and there's a physical fatigue. Like there's a mental, oh, I don't want to do it.
Right.
And there's a physical, I don't want to do it. I think, by the way, with like exercise, with food, with any, with sleep, right? Like with anything that's potentially good for you
Right.
that you're trying to force yourself to do sometimes,
Yeah.
there can legitimately be that like your mind is the one resisting. And also, there can legitimately be that your body's the one resisting.
Yeah. And sometimes they overlap. I
How do
think
you
what's hard
know?
is I know. How do you know? Because as I've worked to change my relationship with exercise, like you were talking about what your relationship was, and like I grew up an athlete. So I was, as doing that, you push your body. And so I've always felt that push, and something about that felt good, and having a skill always felt good. But, that turns into like using exercise to fit. Um, so as I change my relationship to it and how I look at it and how I show up with it, that's something that I'm looking at all the time. When is it my mind saying, and my body's actually fine to do it? And when is it my body saying, I don't have it in the tank? Like I need rest right now. And honestly, I don't get it right every time. I'm still
Yeah.
learning. It's tricky because the mind is powerful. And so those moments where the mind is like, I don't feel like doing this, I don't want to do this. Um, I think we can start to look at, okay, I don't feel like doing this. Is this my mind? Is this my head? Or is this my body? Well, how have I slept the last few days? Like this is how where you can turn to give yourself more concrete evidence about whether or not you should rest or you should go into and push your body a little.
Right.
Have I
Yeah.
slept?
Have
Have
I
I
slept?
have how have I eaten in the last few days? Like
Yep.
have I skipped meals? Or right now, when's the last time I nourished? Have I had water to drink? What is my overall stress level? Like, am I going through something challenging at work and it's requiring a lot of extra effort? It's looking at all of those different places that can help inform, oh, all those are in line. And if I think about how I feel physically, I actually feel pretty good. So this is my mind just going, I don't like the discomfort of pushing through something.
Well, and I would also add to that is my body working on something else really hard? And I think about that with like your period, right? Like with the
Hmm.
period. When you're menstruating, it's not a time, right, to push.
Hmm.
When you have an injury that your body's working on healing, it's not a time to push, right?
Right.
Like so there's also that component as well.
Right. Like, are
Yeah.
you feeling pain? Like, do you have just this generalized, like, oh, feel so, it's different from I worked out 2 days ago and my muscles are a little sore. Like,
Mhm.
just pain in the body, pain in the joints, because that's a sign that something's off.
Yeah.
Nervous system, typically nervous system.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And I would even say like I want to just say this clearly because I think sometimes we need this permission of like You don't have to follow a strenuous exercise routine to be healthy, to feel good in your body, to have muscles. Like, that's not required. You also don't have to do the same thing every week. You also don't actually have to work out 6 or 7 days a week. Like, right, like movement and physical activity, we've talked about that, is like different than exercise, right? Yes, we want you moving your body. We want
Right.
you going for a walk. We want you playing with your dog or your kids. We want you able to lift a box. We want you able to put the groceries away, to clean, right? Like, we want you able to do these activities that are part of daily living and move your body every day.
Yes.
But you don't need to,
Have a specialized workout.
yes, with some kind of special workout that's like almost every day.
Right. You don't have to. For
No.
some people though, right? They feel like they cannot function without that. So this is one of those nuanced spaces.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm one of those people. Like,
Yeah.
but the way that I compromise that is some days my exercise is a 45-minute walk.
Mhm.
Like, I count that, right? Like, it's how I mentally track that. But I do mentally like need to move my body pretty much every day. Like,
Mhm.
in some kind of dedicated time way. And I actually think it's potentially even more about that, right? That I'm giving myself like a time where I'm not looking at my phone or working with clients or working on something for my business or with a friend, or you know what I mean? Like, that
Mhm.
I'm actually just giving myself time.
Yes, you're giving back to yourself. And I think that like the act of showing up for a workout, a specific or a movement activity, a walk, whatever it is, I think that that act is extremely powerful. I take it really serious because this is when you meet yourself where you are. Like you show up and you meet your mind and your body together. And we don't often do that. We're often very separate from our bodies until they tell us not to be with pain or discomfort. That's it calling you back to it.
Mhm.
So I view fitness as an opportunity to call your energy back to yourself, come
Mhm.
back in, and now move and feel your body around you and connect your mind into your body.
Yeah. And, for me, I really think too, it's about the breathing,
Mhm.
right?
That's the
Like,
bridge, right? That's the
yeah,
bridge from the mind to the body.
totally. And even just that space to literally breathe
Mhm.
is huge.
And how many fitness workouts have you done in your life where breathing wasn't part of that? It was once you were into it, of course you have to breathe to do it. Let's say CrossFit, for instance. How
Mhm.
would that workout begin? Jog around or,
Right. Yeah.
okay, everyone, do a warm up lap or
Hmm.
something like that. Um,
Yeah. The only part with breathing there would be when you do like the lift part. So for people who don't know, a CrossFit workout, which is called a WOD, workout of the day, it starts with a warm up.
that sounds gross.
I know, right?
The WOD.
It starts with a warm up. Then you have a main lift you're working on for the day, which is going to be like something heavier weight. So, say, for example, squats or chest press. And literally, you're going to work on that for like 10 to 15 minutes. You might do a little bit of other small strength work after that. And then you have what's called a Metcon, which is metabolic conditioning. And that is your balls to the walls situation. So you've just basically lifted heavy weights and you're always trying to lift heavier. So you're lifting very heavy weights more slowly and intentionally. That's
Mhm.
maybe to me the most positive part of it, right? And then you go right from that, demanding that of your body, which is, by the way, a different kind of stress, but very
Right.
stressful for your body, right?
Yeah.
Into a very endurance, usually cardio and strength focused, like go, go, go. There's no rest.
And how, so if someone's coming in, like say CrossFit happens at 5:30 p.m., they're typically coming from their work day and you're rushing to get there on time. You're rushing to change into your clothes. You've eaten a banana on the ride there. You haven't eaten since 11 a.m. lunch or whatever it was, or you ate on the run. and you're rushing into that, and there wasn't even a pause to take one breath. It was get straight to it, and now push, 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 and at the end, collapse, and then get all ready and go home and move on to the next thing.
You've just described me years ago. Like literally,
Mm-hmm.
I would rush from work. I would go into work early so I could make it to the 4:30 class. I would leave work at 4. I would rush in traffic to get there. So I walk in the door stressed, right? And then,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just push, push, push. And I want to say too, like, you know, every body is different. Truly, every body,
Yes,
is
each
different.
body.
Yes. And there are different times in life where different things may work for you. For me personally, I couldn't just scale back. Like I tried. And honestly, even just talking about it right now, I can feel the cortisol. Like I can feel my body starting to respond because it's a very like Pavlovian dog. Like I think about it, there's a part of it that's amazing, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like it's almost like an addiction in a way. Like it's amazing that endorphin rush that I would have, that feeling of strength was so powerful. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't just walk into the gym and be like, I'm going to do half as heavy weights. I tried. I truly tried for a year dabbling in that, and it did not work
It
for me.
didn't do it. Well,
Yeah.
it felt like less than,
Yes.
because your body got used to this push and running off the adrenaline that was needed in order to be able to sustain that level of energy.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
just gets used to that. So you hear that from a lot of people. They're like, I don't feel like I've worked out unless I'm dripping in sweat or unless my legs are wobbly at the end. I think bar is a lot like that. Like it conditions you to feel like for the whole rest of the day, your muscles feel shaky and weak because you worked them so repetitively.
And our bodies are not meant to have that experience every day. Not
They're
even
not, no.
not even most days, I would even say. Like
Again, it likes our body's like a version of walking and then maybe like a jump or two,
yeah,
like
yeah.
it likes that. And it likes to like push something heavy, pull something heavy. Then it also likes just gentleness and quiet. They like a lot of things. They like swaying, they like dancing. That's what bodies really do like. But it's hard, it's hard to fit it in and find the right thing and all of that. That's why I think we pose the question of like, what is your relationship with exercise? I mean, how would it look if, so to me, when I hear what one whole CrossFit session does, and yeah, there's no question that people walk out of there a much stronger person than they were before, but to what cost? To what end? And how many people are having knee issues, back issues, neck issues, shoulder issues,
Well, and
elbow issues?
it's the same thing. Orange Theory, F45, anything that has you moving your body fast, and then you're going to throw weights into that. Like
Mhm.
that is a huge stressor because now you're not paying attention to form. It's impossible. You're going to
It
get
is.
fatigued and tired. It's impossible. Like everybody tries to say they can do it safely. At some point, if you do it too much, it's not going to be safe.
Well, what fatigue literally means that you no longer have the ability to do it. So, like, as you fatigue the muscles and the joints, the nervous system, all the receptors, you fatigue them to the point where they don't have the ability to do it. So that's, yeah. And that happens, our perception of that fatigue is a little, that messaging gets messed up too. So we don't realize that that's happening. So, my ideal CrossFit, I'm making air quotes, would be, right? I just want to, I like feel like I want to, yeah, geeky
Yeah,
break this down.
totally.
Like I love the strength part. And I love that you're focusing on one move because it's when you do that that you can actually tune into when your body can no longer maintain the form or the breath that's necessary to push something heavy, right? Because and that's a beautiful and really powerful thing to be able to do for your body. But I would like to see a, a different setup and structure to it, meaning we know that people are coming into whatever class they come to. We know they're coming in stressed because list me one person you know that has zero stress.
Right. Yeah.
Because you
Literally.
can't even find one, right? So,
Well, and if you think you don't have stress, you have physiological stress and physical stress. So don't worry, you have stress.
right. I mean, we just are. We know this. We know this about our bodies. It's from the world that we live in,
Mhm.
right? Because there's a lot coming in at once. We're on sensory overload at all times. That's already stress. Like you said, physiological stress, nervous system stress. So, okay, so we already know this about the people showing up. They show in already stressed out, and a stressed out body, that's fight or flight. That is oh God, I need to survive, and the body will do anything it can to survive. So it'll throw everything it can at it. So what if we show up and we take some breaths?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. We start with breathing.
Always. And I'm saying this because I want every person, no matter what you do, to change your relationship with fitness. That the number one thing you do is at the beginning, you pause and take at least 3 breaths.
Okay, I love this. I want to pause for a second because this is my yes for the episode, and I'm just going to claim it now, which is as part of your warm up for movement, whenever you do that, is exactly that 3 breaths as part of your warm up. So you're doing whatever it is that you kind of get your body going and raise your body temperature and practice your movements. And you also do that. You take 3 breaths.
3 breaths before anything, and let them be intentional. So now I'm going to add on to that, because I think that if we skip this part, then we're missing an opportunity to fully show up for ourselves, which is really, that's what we really want when we come into a space to move our bodies. We really just want to connect to ourselves, right? I hope. So we take that breath, but we do it saying, I am bridging my mind to my body. Like, you just say what that is doing, and you feel the breath happen. You feel the ribs and lungs expand. You feel them settle back in on the exhale. And then it's like, okay, I've arrived in my body now. I can move it with intention. The next thing that I always have people do that I think is so important is to set an intention. This seems to only happen for yoga, but
Mhm.
I always say why. Yoga is movement, and the way we all know yoga, the way we all see it here in the US, or other countries that are not, uh, I don't
Yoga's
even know,
birthplace, near yoga's
yoga's
birthplace. Yeah.
birthplace. Yeah, right. So is it's the physical practice. That's a lot of what we see. So that's basically exercise. It's asana is the physical pose. That is the same as doing a push-up,
Yes.
right? So what's the difference? Set an intention. And the intention can be whatever it is that you are calling into yourself, or it can be just as simple as like what I say at the beginning of every class is that moment is to remind us that I am here to nurture, care for, and love my body.
Mm.
And we just repeat that over and over again, because remember, we're trying to break down the messaging that I'm here to fix myself.
Mhm.
And I think that just doing that alone will change the relationship that you have with movement, with exercise, with your body, as you then move through that. Then what I would like to see in CrossFit is that you would on a one day would be that heavy thing and then recover from it.
Mhm.
And then the other day might be the metabolic conditioning that you talk about.
Mhm.
But you would start with the breath, and you would recover in between sets or whatever was happening.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really important that we also have moments of recovery throughout the workout. The heart rate goes up, the breath rate goes up. We notice it's up, and then we pause and breathe again to bring it back down a little, so that we teach the nervous system, like, hey, I'm not in a life or death situation here.
Yeah, because what happens too from a hormone perspective, like there are consequences of continually multiple times a week putting yourself into that space in your nervous system of survival mode,
Hmm.
which is going to be cued by, frankly, your breathing, which is going to also be cued, right, by your kind of pulse, your blood pressure, and your body temperature. Like, there are real lasting consequences from doing that multiple times a week for weeks in a row. And that for women, we see all kinds of things get dysregulated. Period can get dysregulated. Weight can be dysregulated if nothing else is changing, right? Sleep can be dysregulated, mood, right? Like outside of that moment, your mood can be very different. We see bowel movement patterns change. Like, truly, there are profound and longer term effects than just what's happening in that workout.
Right. And I know that you can probably speak to that, right? There's a lot being released into the body when you're working out, right? Like you're releasing hormones, or there's hormones pumping in to help get you through it.
Yep. And here's what I teach, the students in the balanced hormone blueprint, which is like, anytime one hormone is being asked to come to the party, more hormones are coming because it's a whole system and they all impact each other. So it's not like you can isolate and say, you know what, I just want adrenaline to show up. You cannot do that. As soon as adrenaline shows up, there's actually, think of it like, multiple waterfalls and pools that like all go down into each other, like one at a time. It's like that. So there are impacts of doing a workout like that, where adrenaline and cortisol are released, all the way down to your progesterone and your estrogen, which are not two hormones that you think of when you think of strenuous exercise.
No, you don't.
And by the way, are hormones that are important for our entire life. There's a myth out there that post-menopause, they're still not important. They are, and the body actually still does produce them, fun fact, just at a much smaller amount. And so I just like to call that out because it truly is like your whole adult life.
Yep. That you need them to be as balanced as possible. So you're in this CrossFit workout that you were doing before, and now it's high levels of cortisol and adrenaline being pumped into your system. And then what happens with that when you're done with then what?
Yep.
What happens with your nervous system? As soon as the workout's done, you're dressed and you're in the car and you're back into like, okay, now I need to go get dinner or whatever it is that's next.
Well, you continue riding the wave of those hormones. And that's part of truly what we associate with feeling good, actually. And I think that is maybe part of the issue too, is that we need to start associating other sensations with feeling good and feeling accomplished.
So that's almost like a high, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're just taking that energy and you're like, great, now I'm going to do all these other things, right? You're just like using that hormone hit, right?
Yeah.
That endorphin hit, the neurotransmitter hit that's happening. You're using all of that to then fly through whatever's happening next.
Right. So for me, I would have that and then I would crash. And it was like I had to push through whatever was next. My body always ached and hurt. I was never not sore. Never not sore when I was pushing my body. There was never a moment that there wasn't a soreness to movement.
Really? That is so interesting.
Yeah.
And obviously, I would say to our listeners, like, if that's you, what you're doing is not for you. Like, that's a clear sign.
Right. And again, that's where the signal and the messaging has failed us, because we have this sense that if we're sore, then it worked. So if I'm not sore, then what I didn't work. It means I should push harder next time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would even say actually, I have a question for you. Have you ever, outside of like postpartum, like kind of immediately postpartum, have you ever like purposefully, intentionally, and mostly joyfully taken a few weeks off of formal exercise?
I think maybe not a few weeks, but if I go on vacation, I
Mhm.
didn't used
Right,
to.
right.
I don't formally work out.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I think there's a really interesting experiment to do. Um, and for me, this was mostly forced. And sometimes I have to strongly advocate for clients to do this. When your body is showing all these symptoms, expressing all these symptoms, right? One of the things it needs is for you to help it prioritize what to focus on.
Mhm.
And one of the best ways to do that is to turn the volume way, 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 way down on your movement. And truly your formal exercise, right? Like you can do easy walks, you know, even up to 60 minutes, probably, a couple times a week, that could be okay. But truly it's like walk, breathe, rest, restorative yoga, like that's it. And
Mhm.
it is really uncomfortable for a lot of us to do that.
Yep.
Very uncomfortable. And one of the things that's interesting for me is to do it while you're still able to keep to a routine with other habits staying healthy, right? So nourishing food, good sleep, right? Like you're having connection with people who matter to you, right? Like continuing all the other things that support your best health, right? Mentally, emotionally, physically,
Mhm.
but changing this one piece of the puzzle because your hormones sometimes really, really need that. Like if you're dealing with a very extreme, kind of exacerbated issue, your body could really benefit from potentially that experiment.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like a little bit of a reset, right? Like, oh, this is how we're meant to function without all this other stuff being pushed out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like the idea about like multitasking, where, they say like multitasking isn't a real thing. It's just switching back and forth really fast. And
Mhm.
women happen to be better at that than men.
Mhm.
Like that's true. I think it's similar. Our bodies actually do multitask a lot and they have to, right? Like we have to be able to breathe while our heart beats, while our temperature is controlled, all that, right? But our body doesn't want to multitask more than it has capacity for.
Mhm.
And when there are lots of symptoms showing up, that's a sign that it doesn't have capacity for more multitasking.
Mhm. So the symptoms that might be showing up could be just your body's call for you to pay attention to your relationship with fitness.
Mhm. Yeah. Which, and I think part of this conversation that we really want to impart is like, we don't know what's right for you.
Right.
I don't know what's right for you, Jen. You don't know what's right for me,
Right.
right? Like, this is something that as an individual, you really have to explore because maybe it is a time for you, listener, to get into more formal strength training.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, right? Like, maybe it is a time for you to incorporate more core strengthening exercise and try Pilates. Like, I don't know, right?
Mhm.
Also, maybe it is a time for you to, really shift and do more of the breathing and gently moving your body.
Yeah, more restorative type of things.
Mhm.
Yeah, we don't know. And the thing is also, it is hard to read ourselves with it, right? Like I I'll go, now did I have it in me? And one of my measures for this is how I feel long term after I've done the workout.
Mm.
Like if after I'm done, if I maintain a level of energy throughout the day. Okay, that was the perfect amount because we do want it to kind of elevate our mood. It does that for us, right?
Mhm.
Elevates the mood, elevates your energy level, but we don't want it to burn it out.
No, yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's how, and that might be different week to week, again, depending on what else is going on for you, the sleep, the food, the stress level, like what you have, if you've traveled, all those different things.
I would even adjust that and say it will be different every week. Not
Yeah.
might, it will, because your life isn't the same every single day, even if you have routine. I would also say, along those lines, you shared one of your signs is like energy kind of after
Hmm.
workout and it not being too wild and it not dumping eventually. Other types of signs that are kind of like that are if your appetite is like wild, right? If you have to like eat so much more, you have all of a sudden lots of cravings, then your nutrient intake is not matching your exercise, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you one of the things I like to teach is tracking your waking body temperature. So if your waking body temperature is starting to get lower and lower, that's not a good thing. We don't want that to happen. We want your body warm. So if that's happening and you're noticing that in a trend, that's another indication like, hey, it's time to take a little bit off. It's time to go a little bit easier. If
Mm-hmm.
your mood, right? Like if your mood is just up and down, or very, very anxious, anxiety is a very physical state.
Yeah.
Like all of these are potentially, right, signs that what you're doing needs to be adjusted.
Or looked at. Yeah. Looked at.
Yeah.
Right. And you might even just find, and that's why I offer like that simple beginning and then during, letting yourself take mindful breaths during the work. Like say you're doing a weight workout and you do biceps or lunges, whatever it is. After you do a full set of those, allowing a recovery moment before moving into the next thing.
I like that. I like the putting some breathing between those.
Yeah. And that recovery moment is mindful. It's where you again remind yourself why you're there, the intention of why you showed up, and you come back to your breath, which is coming back to your body. Because the mind can wander. And we want this to be a mindful practice so that we bring all of aspects of ourselves together. I think that that's really important. I think that's what's missing in most fitness. No matter what you're doing, this alone, I think, can really change that. So if you're on Peloton, and if it's one of those push hills where you're going to up the resistance and you're really pushing, pushing, pushing. Now I know that the instructor on the screen is there to motivate, and they do that really well, right? Because they make you want to push. But after that hill, they'll offer an opportunity to recover, right? You're not going to stay on the hill for the whole class. So you'll come down the hill.
Hopefully, some of the
Yeah.
classes are intense. And this is one of those moments where I just have to say, like, you are empowered to not do what they tell you. Like,
Right. Yeah. And like the thing is, you are going to get something out of showing up for yourself no matter what. And it's just reminding yourself that so that you can release the fear of like, I have to push for more. I have to keep pushing. If I don't push, then uh-oh, this might happen. And I think that having that mindset is something to really look at and start to nurture away from yourself and invite in more. Oh, my heart rate is way up right now. I'm out of breath. I'm going to let myself recover. And so
mhm.
maybe you back off the resistance and you just pedal lightly and you reconnect with your breath. And when it no longer feels strained, breathing in and out, you'll know the shift because you're not like in and out through the mouth. When you can take a nice breath in through the nose and out through the nose, it means you've recovered. Now you can go back into it again. And I think that it's really important to offer those opportunities throughout a workout for the sake of our nervous system so that it's not like, holy crap, I don't know what to do here. This might keep happening. I need to break down somewhere so that it doesn't keep happening, meaning the knee pain or the hip pain or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I feel like at the end of any workout that you need to cool down.
So this is a great time then to, I think, offer ways that people can do this without having to think about it, which is Jen has an incredible online studio, and you format classes that way every day, right?
Yes. Yep. Yep. We mindfully begin, we practice throughout, and the language is always there to remind you, remember your intention or connect with your breath to recover. And then there is always a resting period at the end, which we slowly decline down into. It's
Mhm.
not just like I'm pushing, 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 and then I lay on the floor.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's a beautiful, it reminds me of music almost. Um, Kind of the way you format a workout where like the middle's the loudest part,
Mhm.
and then it
Yeah,
kind of counts from there,
it
right?
peaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
build up, so we ease the body into it,
Mhm.
and then we ease the body back out of it.
Mhm.
And that is purposeful. That's purposeful for the nervous system to feel safe. Our bodies have to feel safe before they can build muscle or coordination or control or stability.
And ways we help our body feel safe, because I can't resist saying this, are eat nourishing food, often enough, eat what your body truly needs, not what you think your body needs, sleep and rest, right? Get outside, right? And hydrate. And right then, like it's like exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's all of these things. It
Mhm.
is a lot. It is a lot.
Totally.
And if you feel overwhelmed, there's classes to roll on the floor,
Yeah,
quite
totally.
literally. And
Uh,
they're so beneficial. Like we had a rest week this week, which I build in every new moon. I offer 3 restorative classes around the new moon because new moon energy welcomes rest, and it's just a nice way to build that rhythm in and create the connection to like it's okay to also rest. And this is when most people say, "Oh my gosh, that felt so good. I really needed that."
oh yeah.
And if I had offered a high level class, they would have done it. But then when we come into it, like, I didn't realize how much I needed that. And I can start to see people's lights go off of like, um, it's a process, but the lights go off of like, you know what? Last Saturday, I thought I'm going to pull up one of the restorative practices instead of pushing today. And
Mhm.
like that's something that would have been unheard of for this person. To me, that's the gain you're looking for. Is that awareness?
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
I will say, like, I took one of your restorative classes this week, and yeah, it's like the thing that I need that even I feel like I don't do enough. So, yeah.
I don't do it enough. I mean, that's what we're not on here to say like this is easy to do
Oh
or
no,
that we have it nailed. No.
no.
Nope. Every day I have a discussion with myself.
Mhm.
And it's like all things. Once you have the awareness, then you can look at it and then you can start to make little shifts. And little shifts have the biggest impact because they last longer. And
For sure. And they
I
add up.
believe that everyone can do it.
I do too. So,
Yeah.
where could somebody check out your studio if they wanted to?
Well, it's the website is theelementsexperience.com. And then that lists there are on-demand classes, there are live classes that can be done, or people who want to work one-on-one, we can work on your own program and how to build mobility and strength and movement and mindfulness into a practice for you.
Love it. And the perfect complement to moving your body with Jen is my
Mhm.
course, The Balanced Hormone Blueprint, because it covers all those other things on that list that I mentioned. And if you want to grab a spot and join us as a student in just a super rad community, it's a course, and then there's live group coaching that happens a few times a month. You can check it out at bit.ly/balanced hormone blueprint. And depending when this episode comes out, you might be able to enter a fun code to also get a spot in my How to Interpret Your Own Thyroid Labs masterclass. If you
Ooh.
enter the code early Black Friday, all lowercase.
Oh, I mean, I can attest to the Balanced Hormone Blueprint. I'm in it. I'm learning a tremendous amount, even though I thought I knew so much. I was a little full of myself. And then I realized how little I do know. I mean, I pay attention to a lot of helpful types of things, right? So I'm like, oh, I understand, blah, blah, blah. But this course goes in depth and it is powerful and important and fantastic work.
Thank you.
And I really actually think like a phenomenal deal. So snag it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, it covers what I would cover in like 6 months of working one-on-one with someone. So like it
Mhm,
really is the
mhm,
place to start for sure. Lots of bang for
mhm.
your buck, but also like such a great community of other women who are also figuring their hormones and their gut health out. Like this can be so isolating.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have community.
Yeah, it really is. And
Yeah.
I know here we are, we're plugging our things, but I think that's because, right, we really believe in what we offer. And, it's less about, um, I need more clients, I want more clients, and more about, I can't wait for someone else to experience this. I
Yeah.
can't wait for someone to feel the shift that this has the potential to create for them.
Well, and also you and I both know that the people who will be served by this, who are listening right now and pulling up our website or signing up for something we offer, like if you feel you will benefit from it, you will.
Mhm.
That's it. That's how it works.
Right.
Yeah. So, what are you a yes for as a result of today's conversation?
I'm a yes for, I'm gonna wine and dine my exercise relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Wine and dine it.
Add
It's
some
just gonna be
romance.
so loving. That's my continued path. Yeah. How
I
about
love.
you?
I'm a yes to that, like doing breathing at the beginning of the workout. I do it at the end.
Mhm.
And I'm breathing throughout intentionally, but I don't do like intentional, like calming, connecting breath at the beginning. So I'm going to do that.
Yeah. I wanna hear how that goes because that's powerful. It's really setting the stage in your body for what it needs to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
will report back.
Yay. All right, everyone.
Oh, where can you find us?
Yes, where can you find us? Marissa, where can everyone find you?
Thank you. Instagram and TikTok at Marissa Faye Wellness.
And I am Instagram and TikTok at Jen Nickel09. The nickel is Nicol. And that's it. Those are easy. Just
Yeah.
go in, check them out.
So check things
And then
out.
always, you let us know where this landed for you. And if you have questions.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you all.
All right. Peace out.